Welcome to OkState Daily. Casey Porter here, and we have a very, very, very special guest. I am so excited about this. Hey, Bill Van Ness, that you see on the screen, by his own admission, he has a profile for radio, right? And not a face. Is that right, Bill?
Not a face, not anymore. Since I had cancer 5 years ago and beat it, I lost half of it. But that's my good side over here. You can get that in the shot. But anyway, glad to be here, Case. Good to talk to you.
Bill, I reached out and I was like, hey, man, might as well take a shot at this. Let's see if you might come on and talk about the Cowgirl softball team. Of course, Bill Van Ness has been doing play-by-play. And before we go on, I should have said this at the beginning. Congratulations on beating cancer. We were all praying for you, and we are all so excited that you did that.
Well, every day is not a battle, but every day is a success. And, it'll be 5 years in June. And actually with the radiation treatment and everything, 5 years in September. Yep. And I feel fine. I'm as good as I've ever been. For a guy who's going to be 67 on Sunday, me and Casey Kendrick share a birthday. I don't hold that against him, and he doesn't hold that against me.
That is fantastic. The play-by-play voice of the Cowgirl softball team. And so, hey, first of all, tell everybody where you can catch Cowgirl softball on the radio and all that.
Well, most games, if not all, from now on, because we don't have any more conflicts with basketball or anything else that's going on. 105.5 KGFY. You can download our app at stillwaterradio.net. The Varsity Network app, you can also download that and use that as well. If you watch ESPN Plus or watch some streaming device and the game is not on ESPN or ESPN2 where it would be live, if you sync up their video to our audio, it's just about the same as far as the time lag. If you listen on the radio, it's real time. And so we look forward to having and getting more listeners this year with a team at 21-3. Case is pretty good right now.
Yeah.
We're going to get a good test this weekend with UCF, and then a midweek game with Tulsa, and then BYU, and another midweek game after that. And then those Wascally Longhorns are in here from Texas 2 weekends from now. And that'll be the tail of the tape, I think, as far as this team is concerned in the first half of the schedule. And, of course, it's all conference play pretty much from that point on.
Well, and this is the team you mentioned, 21-3. One thing that's exciting about it, of course, you have pitching at the top, Lexi Kilfoyle, Ivy Rosenberry, both ERAs under 1, but then you also have pitching depth. We saw Kyra Aycock pitch really well the other night as well. So you have pitching depth. You also have very good pitching, dominant pitching at the top. And then it's just a team that it just seems like they can win a game in every which way. They can outslug a team. They can win a close game like we saw this weekend, low scoring like we saw. So they have the ability to win every way you need to.
The Baylor games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday were very good tests for them as far as having not played anybody really that strong for a couple, 3 weeks. They were one hit by Riley Crandall from Baylor, who's a very good pitcher, was the Big 12 pitcher of the week this past week for good reason. She's one of the top pitchers in the entire conference, which puts her in the top 10 to 15 in the entire country. And there's not a whole lot of separation between 1 and 15, I'll tell you that. And you could probably throw a couple of Cowgirls into that mix as well. The other thing that Oklahoma State has done this year, I want to start with it first, Case, defense.
Yes.
They've only had a couple of multi-error games, and I think it was 2. And they have not made all that many errors. They've not kicked it around. They've not had many wild pitches. They've not had many pass balls. They haven't made goofy mistakes in running very much. If they've been thrown out, they've been thrown out. Kind of was the case last night with Talon Edwards at the top of the order. She got caught stealing in the first inning, came back and stole a base later on in the game. They don't run all that much, but can hit and run and go base to base as good as any team I've seen in my 26 years of doing this.
Is Carly Godwin one of the best young hitters in the nation, man? It just seems like she wears out the gap-to-gap hitting, man. She is unbelievable.
She's not the best in the Big 12. She's in the top 3. And I would say she's in the top 10 or 15 for the entire country as freshman. Yeah. She's coming here and she's figured it out to this point, and not afraid to lay off pitches she should, and not afraid to swing at pitches she should. It's a situation of where she has a good hitting eye right now. And I think part of that has come with Vanessa Shippey Fletcher being the new hitting coach. That has played into the equation. More aggression at the plate, yet at the same time discipline. It's the old contrast, and you know this from baseball. It's like a pitcher gives up a home run, and then he has to eat that and then get the next guy out. Well, but he has to remember what he did to that hitter before to get him out the next time he faces that guy that lit him up. Well, in hitting, it's kind of the same way. And you know this. You have to be aggressive yet disciplined at the plate. That is very difficult to teach, but it is a motivator to hit better. And in softball, when you're getting the ball from 40 feet away at 70 miles an hour in some cases, you don't have much time. So you got to be a little lucky, but you also got to be a little bit good.
Let's back up and let's start with the pitching. I mentioned the depth: Lexi Kilfoyle, Ivy Rosenberry, Kyra Aycock, Catherine Ogg, and Katie Coots. We've all seen them have great moments this year. So talk about the pitching in this Cowgirl team.
Well, you're 3 deep, and you throw Coots in there, and you've got a 4. Rosenberry can be a starter. She can be a middle reliever. She can be a closer. I don't know that they have a true closer. It's not pitched by committee because people, when they've had decent starts, they finish games at times. Other times, they get into a pitch count situation, or they're just running out of gas. You bring somebody in off the bench, and they seem to do the job. Case in point was the game last week when Rosenberry started and Aycock had to finish. There was another situation like that in the tournament earlier this year where Kilfoyle came in and did the very same thing, and Rosenberry has come in and done the very same thing. Katie Coots has been a spot starter, and I can't say enough about Catherine Ogg. She's thrown 3 pitches all year. She's gotten 3 outs in the same game, and this is a young lady that hadn't pitched for 2 years because she'd been hurt. Yeah. So you have potentially 5 people, 4 for sure. And it's too bad that they have one player who's a freshman on the shelf, because she would be participating in all of this as well. But it starts with pitching and defense. You got to get the guy out first before you get your chance. And then when you're up there hitting, obviously it's a situation where they've not made a whole lot of mistakes. Kenny's never happy about leaving runners on base. I don't know any coach that is. I'm sure you were that way. You miss opportunities, but at the same time, you create opportunities. And that's kind of what they did last night with Central Arkansas. 2 in the first, 2 in the third, and then 4 to put it away in the 4th inning. And it was a matter of coming around. And I said on the air, I said, here's an opportunity in this 4th inning to break the game wide open. I also said that in the 2nd inning and in the 1st inning as well, but it didn't materialize. But eventually, even I get one right, and it did later on. But again, this setup this weekend with UCF, they're a good club. There's nobody bad in this league except maybe Iowa State. They struggle every year because, they play after schedule on the road before they're ever at home, and they never have any pitching, although they beat the Cowgirls last year in Ames in one of the 3 games up there. And so I was looking down here just a moment ago, so I didn't want to unplug this thing from the power supply. But anyway, the point being is that this is a well-rounded team to this point, and if you can win percentage-wise this many games the rest of the way, say take 2 out of 3 from Texas minimum, down the road take 2 out of 3 from Oklahoma, take 2 out of 3 from all your other opponents, you got a chance of 45, 46, 47 win season heading into regionals.
Is this,
and the Big 12, of course.
Is this a team that has enough talent? I know it's very balanced and it's very good across the board. Does it have enough talent to win a national title this year, you think?
No, I don't think so. And only because 2 reasons. One, there's a lot of other teams right now that are more seasoned ahead of them, but a young team sometimes does not have any fear.
Yeah,
and
right.
I think that's where this club is right now. They all seem to get along. They all seem to enjoy each other's company. They all seem to enjoy each other's successes and work on each other's failures. And by that, I mean individually. This team's only lost 3 times. If you look at who they've lost to, there's no crime to who they've lost to. Georgia, LSU, and Baylor. That's pretty good company. And again, if you can keep that realm going, you got a pretty good chance of having a really good season. But again, you have to take care of business against the teams that are ahead of you. And right now, the usual suspects, Texas and OU, loom down the road here this month and at the end of the regular season.
Freshman class is one of the best recruiting classes in the country. Carly Godwin, we already talked about her. Rosie Davis, who has already come up just massively clutch this year. Talk about this freshman class.
Number 3 third baseman case in the whole country right now by Softball America.
Yeah, so talk about this freshman class and how special they are.
Well, they are. They're just, again, they don't have any fear. They seem to get this right away as to what's going on and what they need to get accomplished. Now, they've kicked it around a few times and left people on base a few times and done some things that a young club will do. But at 21-3, they're learning as they go, and they seem to get it, and they thrive on the fact that a Claire Tim is much better as a sophomore this year. They thrive on the fact that Talon Edwards had a streak where she went 0 for 14 with a walk and a sack bunt, and is still hitting 350 at the top of the order and still making things happen. And even if she's making outs, they're moving runners along, they're doing something. But other improved players, Hayden Sokolowski and some others, Megan Bloodworth is hitting 195. She's not in the lineup for a bat. Once you get something out of her hitting-wise, it's a bonus because she's one of the best defensive shortstops in the country.
And clutch,
her range is almost from third to behind second.
Those two plays she made against Baylor in the 7th inning were huge on Sunday.
Well, yeah, they were, and she came up with a couple last night, even though it was a game that was kind of out of reach for Central Arkansas. And this was a good Central Arkansas team a year ago that lost 14 players off a team that won 45 games. So they were not the same team. But again, when you get into conference play, and even when you play TU next week and some others, you're going to have some quality opponents to have to go win on the road. You can't have a UTA game like 2 years ago when you go to Arlington and you get beat because this pitcher that doesn't throw 50 miles an hour is getting everybody out, it seemed like, but me and the coaches, because they couldn't handle a drop ball. You got to go in and just respect everybody. But again, you got to have a killer attitude, basically. And if you get beat, you get beat.
Yeah.
But don't give it to them.
Yeah.
I mean, make them earn it.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about the Baylor weekend last weekend. Not necessarily, you've already talked about the action, but just kind of what the mood was. Was it like relief leaving Waco when you were next close to the team, leaving on Sunday? Was it excitement? What was that like?
Well, I didn't do the game Sunday, but I know from talking to people who did go down there, they were very happy to get that win in that third game. If you come out of there 1-2, it's maybe a different attitude, but at 2-1, you'll take that because Baylor is normally a very tough opponent. They always are in their place. I don't care what the records are or anything else. But that was a good road test in the league for Oklahoma State, and it is much better to have been 2-1 than have been 1-2 after that point in what you did to win on Friday, because that was extra innings to pull that one out of the fire.
Yep, and talk about UCF. Of course, Oklahoma State fans not as familiar with UCF coming into the league this year. What do we know about them?
Well, their best player doesn't play for them anymore. She transferred to another Big 12 school, so that figures into the equation. If you beat them 3-2, okay? Unless you just pummel them. If they beat you, they're going to beat you 3-2. They don't hit for big average. They don't give up a whole lot. Their pitching is pretty sound. I think they're going to come in here with a little bit of a swagger. And again, nobody in the league's bad, except maybe Iowa State, and they're competitive. So you have to treat everybody with the same amount of respect. You give UCF the same amount of respect you give OU. You say, look, they're coming to our place. We own our stadium, and you go win. It's as simple as that. And don't kick it around, and the Cowgirls have not done much of that. Now, they tried to in a game last week with Wichita State, but they overcame that and eventually won that game. So can good pitching beat good hitting? Yes, but it works both ways.
Bill, we're going to try to get these out each Thursday. I can't thank you enough for joining. So, hey, any final thoughts before we get out of here going into the UCF weekend?
$10 tickets if you want to sit in the right field bleachers by the scoreboard, which they got put back up this week, and those will be available for every home game from here on.
Give us one last time where everybody can find Cowgirl softball. How do you sync it up with the video? How do you do it? Give us all that one more time. Okay,
and we'll just tell you that the games are 6, 2, and noon this week because you're playing an East Coast team, so the time changes a little bit. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 105.5 KGFY, our KGFY app at StillwaterRadio.net, and the Varsity Network. And if you're watching, say, a streaming ESPN Plus game, you can watch us or watch that video, I should say, and listen to us basically at about the same time as far as syncing it up. Now, if you listen to radio and listen to us, we're a little bit ahead of the TV. But if you do audio off an app, if you do audio or video off of the ESPN Plus app and use 2 different devices, because I don't know anybody can sync them up at the same time on the TV, but if you did it that way, say on your phone or something, you could almost be right on watching and listening to us.
Fantastic. Bill Van Ness, the play-by-play voice of the Cowgirls. Thank you so much for joining. One more time, congratulations on beating cancer, and we will talk to you next Thursday.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the time.